The world did not just tilt, it shattered. Alex's words, Miss Ezenjadiha passed away 2 nights ago, didn't feel like words. They felt like a physical blow, knocking the air from Zahrah's lungs and the strength from her knees. She stumbled back, her hand flailing out to grip the doorframe for support. The polished marble floor, the tastefully muted paintings on the wall, Alex's impassive face, everything swam in a dizzying blur. Ezen was dead. The woman with her face, the architect of this insane reality, was gone. The finality of it was a door slamming shut, locking Zahrah forever in this gilded cage. And then, to her own utter surprise, a sob ripped from her throat. It was not a calculated tear. It was a raw, guttural wave of grief that crashed over her. She slid down the doorframe, collapsing into a heap on the cold floor, her shoulders shaking. She cried for the woman who had been a ghost from the beginning, a reflection in a mirror she never knew existed. Ezen now felt like a twin she had been separated from at birth, a sister whose life she had only glimpsed in frantic, feverish fragments. She cried for the conversations they would never have, the questions that would now forever go unanswered. Why her? What was she so afraid of? What was it like to know you were dying and have to find a stranger to carry your name? Why didn't she? Zahrah choked out, her voice thick with tears, her fists clenching on her knees. Why didn't she just talk to me? One more time. She could have called. She could have said goodbye. She looked up at Alex, her vision blurred, seeking some shred of understanding in his stoic face. He watched her, his eyebrows slightly raised, as if her display of emotion was an unexpected and mildly inconvenient data point. He didn't offer a handkerchief. He didn't offer comfort. She messaged you for weeks, my lady, he stated, his voice flat and factual, cutting through her hysterics. You left everyone on read. By that point, she was already under intense surveillance. Every call, every movement was being monitored. He paused, letting the implications sink in. Contacting you directly for anything beyond the initial offer was a risk she could not take. If we had not taken the final calculated risk to send the money to Mr. Ickham, when we did, everything would have fallen apart. That transaction was our last, best move. It was the hook that secured you. The cold, strategic truth of it silenced her sobs, leaving only a hollow, aching pain. Her refusal to answer had been a part of the script. Her father's desperation had been a planned trigger. She had never been in control. Wiping her tears with the back of her hand, a new, morbid curiosity surfaced through the grief. Has she been buried? She whispered, imagining a quiet, lonely funeral for the real Ezen, while her imposter lived in her house. Alex's expression hardened. The slight hint of clinical explanation vanished, replaced by pure, undiluted steel. He took a single deliberate step forward, looming over her where she sat on the floor. Miss Ezenjadiha, he said, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous whisper that seemed to freeze the very air in the room, is in the room with us right now. His eyes drilled into hers, demanding belief, demanding obedience. She is you. He let the terrifying finality of that statement hang between them for a long, suffocating moment. Then he continued, his tone leaving no room for argument, no room for error. The other thing I said just now, he said, his gaze piercing, the thing about the previous occupant must remain between us. Forever. Forever. It never left this room. You will never speak of it, never think of it outside these walls. That person is gone. Do you understand me? Before she could even form a nod, Alex turned on his heel. His movements, always efficient, were now frantic with purpose. He went to a sleek, wall-mounted panel she hadn't noticed before, tapping in a rapid code. A monitor slid out, showing a grid of camera feeds from all over the house. He found the feed for his office, the two of them, him standing, her crumpled on the floor. With a few sharp, precise clicks, he selected the last 15 minutes of footage. A prompt appeared. Delete selected archive. Permanent action. He didn't hesitate. He clicked yes. The footage on the screen dissolved into static, then reset to a live view of the empty room. It was as if the last earth-shattering minutes had never happened. The confession, her breakdown, his warning, all of it was now a ghost, a memory existing only in their minds, with no proof, no record. He turned back to her, his face a mask of cool composure once more. The official announcement of your return from your extended retreat in Europe will be made tomorrow, he said, his voice back to its usual dispassionate tone. You will be introduced to the household staff as Miss Ezen. Your training intensifies now. The performance begins. He offered a hand to help her up from the floor. It was not a gesture of kindness, but of necessity. The grieving pauper had to get off the floor. The heiress had to stand up. Zahrah took his hand, her own trembling. She rose to her feet, her legs unsteady. She was no longer just playing a part. She was the living, breathing tombstone for a dead woman. And the world was about to start paying its respects. The plush silence of the mansion was a heavy blanket, smothering and absolute, after the seismic shock of Alex's revelation. Zahrah felt untethered, a ghost in a house that was now officially hers, built on a grave she could never visit. She needed an anchor. She needed a voice that was real. Closing the door to her cavernous bedroom, she sank into the embrace of a velvet armchair and pulled out the phone, her old, battered phone, the last tether to Zahrah. She dialed the number she knew by heart. It rang only once. Z, my shining star. Her father's voice boomed through the line, a burst of glorious, unpolished sunshine in the sterile room. The sound was so pure, so right, that fresh tears welled in her eyes, but these were tears of relief. Daddy, she breathed, the word of comfort, a secret rebellion. Ah, my daughter, you won't believe it. The blocks are rising. Oh, the shopping complex you financed. The workers are on site from dawn till dusk. We are even ahead of schedule. Can you imagine? Your father, a landlord. He laughed, a deep, joyful sound that spoke of a lifetime of deferred dreams finally coming true. This modeling work you are doing, God bless you for it. It has changed our lives. His joy was a double-edged sword. It filled her with a warm, protective love, but it also carved a deeper hollow of guilt inside her. He was celebrating a lie. He was building his future on a foundation of her deception. I'm so happy for you, Daddy. She managed, forcing her voice to sound light. I just wanted to hear your voice. And I am always here to talk to my superstar. But wait, are you eating? You sound tired. All that posing and catwalk cannot be easy. Make sure you rest, you hear? I will, Daddy. I promise. They spoke for a few more minutes, his cheerful chatter about cement, roofing, and the admiration of his neighbors creating a fragile bubble of normalcy around her. When she finally hung up, the silence of the room felt even deeper, the opulence even more mocking. She had called him Daddy. It was the most natural thing in the world. It was the one word that still felt like her own. The knock on the door was so soft it was almost imperceptible, yet it made her jump as if a gun had been fired. Come in, she said, her voice still thick with unshed tears. The door opened, and Xiao Meng, the chef, stepped in. She didn't smile. Her usually calm face was pinched with a faint, professional annoyance. Mr. Alex, she said, her Chinese accent clipping the words sharply, asked me to tell you something. She delivered the message like she was reciting an inconvenient grocery list. He said to be careful with the way you address a few people. She gave a small, dismissive shrug, as if the entire matter was beneath her. That is all. And with that, she turned and left, closing the door with a quiet, definitive click. Zahrah sat frozen, the phone still clutched in her hand. The warm, comforting bubble her father's voice had created popped, and the cold, monitored reality of her prison rushed back in. He was listening. Of course, he was listening. The walls had ears. The very air was a spy. Her private moment, her one sacred connection to her old life, had been dissected in real time. The word daddy had been flagged, analyzed, and deemed a security risk. A hot, violent wave of fury rose in her chest, so potent it stole her breath. It was a rage born of helplessness, a violation of the sheer, suffocating control that was being exerted over every syllable, every breath, every thought. She wanted to scream. She wanted to pick up the priceless vase on the side table and hurl it through the floor-to-ceiling window. She wanted to run through the mansion, tearing down the silk curtains, screaming her real name until her voice gave out. She wanted to find Alex and claw that impassive mask right off his face. But she didn't. She sat there, trembling, the scream trapped in her throat, a prisoner of her own making. She had sold her life for her father's smile, for his shopping complex, for his freedom from the Lapo men. And the first installment on the price was the word daddy. She slowly placed the old phone back into her bag, the movement feeling like a funeral rite. Then she picked up the new one, the sleek black leash. There were no tears now, just a cold, simmering resolve. The performance had begun, and the director was watching from the control room. There would be no more mistakes,